Oh, yeah, we're ready. We're way behind. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have a quorum. I'd like to welcome, Ms. Christie. Thank you for being here. And Joseph, good to see you. You go with Joe or Joseph? Joe. Joe, okay, Joe. It's nice to meet both of you all. And, this is my first time on this job. And, this is my first meeting. Have y'all been in a meeting before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's a long
so
time.
why don't you come over here and sit?
Yeah.
You got it. I'm doing well.
I'll just get you motions and get seconds and all that. Get y'all
If
thinking.
you promise to do the motion and she'll promise a second, we're gonna get along.
There we
Tag
go.
team each other all the time.
Yeah,
Well,
one
I
or
wanna-
the other.
Yeah, y'all probably know about me, and you know, I've been with government off and on, state and federal government for the last 20 years.
Yes, sir.
When I retired from AT&T, SBC, which is now AT&T, at the turn of the century, right at this side of the 30th century. And then I, a guy by the name of Huckabee decided he wanted me to go work for him, and he drug me into politics, and I can't get out of it. It just stays with me.
Now the
Oh, I
family
see that, yeah.
Let's see, I've worked for, I don't count BB, but I work for, I did work for him for a month, but that doesn't count. I worked with, Mike Huckabee, Asa Hutchinson, and Sarah Sanders. Three of those, and I worked for George H.W. Bush,
Okay.
George W. Bush, and Barack Obama.
Mhm.
And so I've had three presidents and three governors, and I've about worn them all
I
out.
was gonna say, you lasting all of them.
Oh, it's bad. So, and I was very honored to be asked to assume this position, under this most unfortunate circumstance. Friend of mine, Mr. Mark, and, again, I will say it again, I'll probably get tired of me hearing it. I wish he were sitting here today. And I think a lot of people do. But he's not, so you got this is what you got, okay? You can't do anything about it, so. That's my introduction. Y'all don't need the introduction, so everybody else looks like they are part of the team and have been here. So I think we're gonna go straight to the director's report. Is a Fran Johansson here.
Fran Johansson, actually, that is how my dad's name used to be
I
pronounced.
know.
So,
I used to spend a lot of time in Minnesota, and there were a lot of them up there.
yeah, he's Wisconsin, so, but anyway, and I do want to take just a minute, I know,
Yeah, I'm not sure. We're having issues receiving video, but.
You didn't fix it
taking
over the
care
2 hours I gave you?
of- I'm sorry, I apologize.
but Jose,
Half hour.
I guess we can't see Jose. Is that, okay. We do have another gentleman joining, Tom, but I believe everybody here, and
I
you'll,
don't see a Jose's name.
it was a
It
last,
was a new addition.
the last minute.
All right, that's fine. What role does Jose play? Because I know everybody else.
So,
Jose, can you hear us still?
I absolutely can. Can you folks hear me?
we can hear you, we
Yes.
cannot see you. Could you briefly explain your relationship with the census and to Tom Hewitt?
Yeah, absolutely. Thomas, if you wanted to kind of kick that off, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Nice to hopefully see you again. I know I was on camera earlier. I hope it's still there. So
Yeah.
good to see you in person. I'm Tom Hewitt. So I lead our relationship management team for Census Government Savings. So I have a team of relationship managers for the ABLE line of business, the state funded retirement plan line of business, as well as 529s. So I'm here today standing in for Dave Ponder, who recently retired. Everyone knows Dave. I said earlier, I'll be finished with the hiring process in the next couple of weeks. And we'll get down there and introduce you to the replacement that we have coming on board. But in the meantime, I'll be able to run point for both the 529 and ABLE. I've been at a census for 4 years now. Prior to that, I spent 19 years at Vanguard, actually. So I've been in the 529 space for about 10 of those years. Jose, I asked Jose to join because, frankly, Jose is the ABLE expert. Jose leads our National ABLE Alliance relationship. So while Arkansas Plan is a member of the alliance and Dave always plays point, Jose is responsible for the broader ABLE relationships across the complex.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So,
he's here to fill in for my shortcomings.
Not at all, not at all.
Thank you both for being here. Did you want to call for the approval of the minutes?
You know, I missed that.
That's okay, but we'll
So,
take care of that before.
We have provided you minutes of the last meeting. I kind of took a look at them, I think. I looked at some, and but y'all were probably in the meeting or somebody. So could I have an approval of the meeting? Gee, are there any changes to the minutes that you received? Can I have a motion for the approval?
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
May I have a second?
I second that.
Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Minutes have been approved. All right,
Thank you.
Fran, it's your turn.
So just a few updates on promoting the ABLE program. Chris and I were fortunate enough with Joe's invitation to present to the regional area managers for workforce services at a meeting recently, at a Zoom meeting, and had a very, very good productive meeting with them just to answer some questions about the ABLE plan and in some cases clarify some details about it. And we've been fortunate enough to see a few of those folks this past week at some other employee benefits fairs. So I think the message resonated because they repeated how much they enjoyed hearing about it. We're also very excited tomorrow or this Saturday, Chris and I will be attending. We were invited to Easter Seals for an open house that they're having for their families and parents.
Is that here?
Yes, Saturday morning or Saturday morning to afternoon. And then the last Saturday of the month, we've been invited to an autism event at the Fenton Event Center. It's a autism foundation that I wasn't familiar with, and I don't know if you were either. But Tyler Danaway Foundation, and the mother, her name is Danaway, so I'm guessing it's a foundation she started. But they're expecting a couple of hundred people at that, so we'll go present the ABLE plan there. So that'll be good. And then throughout the last few months, we've been meeting with HR directors at various state agencies to make sure that they know about the ABLE plan for their employees and remind them that it is payroll deduction, that it is an option for that. And as a result of those meetings, they've asked us to come back to some of their individual employee fairs, which is why we were at Department of Commerce yesterday. We're going over to ADEQ next week. We're going across the street to Transformation Services next week. St. Bernard's Hospital in Jonesboro next month, as well as a few others. So it's really been, I think we figured out about 65% of the state agencies we've been able to sit down with. So it's been very fruitful. So that's pretty much the extent, and then we'll get into the numbers of how the plan's doing here in just a second. But Christy, did you have any questions, or Joe, about anything?
I do not. Sounds good. Sounds like you guys are staying busy.
We are.
And I just want to thank you guys again for
Mm-hmm.
continuing to engage with our folks. We've had a lot of turnover in council positions. We couldn't hire for a while, and now we started back, and the new folks just don't know enough about the programs.
It's a lot. They've got a lot on their plate.
Yeah. And the main barrier to employment in a lot of instances is folks taking themselves out of the workforce, people with disabilities, because they're worried about their benefits. They're worried about the impact that it's going to have. Not going to make a dollar more. I'm going to lose everything I've got. So I want to continue to have y'all on that rotation.
Well, and to that end, right before our meeting, you mentioned October 5th. Well, the month of October is National Disability Employee Awareness Month. And every year, they have an event at the state capitol in the Rotunda to shine a light on that. So we've been invited to participate in that again this year. So I think October 5th. So we'll be there.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, I believe that's it for my director's report. Then moving on to the official part of, we need to officially authorize Treasurer Walther to be signatory for the ABLE account and remove Stephen, who's temporarily been handling those duties. And so in addition to you, Joe, we now need to add Treasurer Walther. So I'd like to ask for a motion to remove Stephen and add Treasurer Walther as a signer on the ABLE account.
I make that motion.
There you go.
Okay, okay.
I second.
Okay,
Any
wonderful.
discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
That passed. Now, I need to sign something. Do you need to sign? Did you already sign it?
I've already signed it.
Okay.
Do I need to do it again?
You'll have to do it again.
That's right, because there's one
So
card.
before we get out, let's do that.
Yes,
Okay. All right. So the next item is it Thomas or
Yeah, Tom,
Tom?
you wanna-
We're looking for your report.
Sure. Do you want me to share or are you already sharing there?
he's sharing it.
Okay, great. So if we can scroll to the to that first slide, put together kind of the high level numbers for the plan, run through each, any trends we may see, any questions you may have, bring them out, whether it be specific for your plan or what we're seeing more broadly across the alliance. We're happy to cover those things. As you can see here, this is a much younger plan than what you see on the 529 side. So your numbers are clearly lower, but you also see steady growth, right? Year over year, starting with that blue line back in 2021 to where we're at now in 2023. We are just shy of 5 million at this point. So the assets just continue to climb. Obviously, you see the same trend as a whole as part of the alliance, where they're up to about 380 million. So positive trend on the assets. This is a blend of new accounts and cash flow. Less impact than we'd see on the 529 of just the market in general, but still the leading driver of where you're going to see change in the assets in a program like this. Moving forward, so this is an interesting one. This is a breakdown of, hey, where are participants allocating these assets? What we see here for the Arkansas plan, these are a group of static options. So for each one of these, outside of the one that says checking, that is what it is. The checking option, stable capital preservation with a debit card option. The other portfolios, they are static options that have different risk variables. So a different allocation between equities, fixed income, and cash throughout. So if you're saving for different durations, if you're using this as more of a savings vehicle, you will align your assets to kind of a time horizon that best fits your risk profile. So unlike the 529, where it's pretty easy to identify what the time horizon is for folks based on if they're saving for college. There's not a glide path per se for this sort of investment, but if you are putting this in for longer term, we have options. Typically see the checking option as the largest in ABLE plans, but what stands out with your plan is that conservative option is actually higher at 39%. Than we see anywhere else. Speculation, I believe you have a large number of entity accounts that aren't investing in the checking option, so that may be what's driving that. But the checking option is primarily the largest option we see. Next slide. Contributions. So if we follow along here, we're looking year over year by month. So you can see the trends. And aside from looking at that April of 01, we do see a pretty steady upward trend year over year, month over month of the contributions continuing to rise. So exactly what we want to see in a program.
Didn't we determine, we thought that April 01 was
Yeah, so
stimulus?
we're thinking that was a stimulus payment month, just a.
They saved it.
Yes, yes, they did. They saved it in the right spot too.
This is just a breakdown of how folks are contributing to the account. And I think the biggest takeaway here is you're looking at about 66% of the contributions coming via some sort of automated fashion. So not sending in a paper check, right? So you have electronic banks transfer, you have an electronic bank transfer that's set up to happen every month or every quarter, which would be a recurring. You have your UGift contribution, which is someone else using our gifting platform to add assets to the plan. And then also you have a small part there of payroll contributions. So all of those automated transactions, obviously, that helps to keep costs lower in the plan, and adoption, ease of use, major drivers for those factors. And of course, we'll always have checking options, but it is always good to see those on the lower end. Distributions. We talked a little bit about this in a different context with withdrawals from a 529 program. I think what everyone's still figuring out is ABLE really a savings program, or is it just as much a spending program, right? And we see these distributions continuing to go up over time. One, because there's more participants in the plan, and two, because folks are spending their money. That's evident by the high numbers in the checking account. So the funds are being used as expected, and we will continue to see this over time as the plan grows. I think it's yet to be seen where ABLE plans will wind up on that kind of spectrum of savings versus spending vehicle. I think there's still a lot to learn there as we go. Mm-hmm. Jose, anything you would add there? I know you are a lot closer.
No, Thomas, I think I absolutely agree with you. I think what's the most challenging right now is just trying to predict behavior, right? Mm-hmm. And understanding spending habits and also savings habits, but understanding that, again, ABLE savers have some folks have a limited amount of disposable income to be able to invest. They have an asset limitation that they need to adhere to, not necessarily just at $2,000, but in addition to that, the $100,000 ABLE savings limit that prevents them from investing further, right? So I think, however, what we're actually doing based on the data that we're sharing with you is understanding the typical Arkansas ABLE saver, right? And what we're seeing now is, which is great, is hey, maybe Arkansas ABLE savers are a little bit more comfortable in savings in static portfolios. Also, what we're seeing is, hey, Arkansas ABLE savers are also, they're web savvy, right? As Thomas had pointed out, so much of the contributions are going through the web channel, the online portal. You'll see a great amount of enrollments come through the electronic channel as well, versus submitting paper. So this is actually very promising data, right, for us, and it will hopefully help and inform us in how, let's say, Fran and Chris approach, let's say, the marketing and distribution perspective, right, and what may be our effective tools in communicating and marketing the plan. So
the next slide, please. So not much to add here other than what really jumps out at you is how folks are using the money, and overwhelmingly the debit card feature that the program has is what is driving distributions for the plan. 62% are occurring because of that withdrawal feature. So I don't know if we have the statistic in the deck or not, but I would guess that the overwhelming majority of withdrawals are coming from that savings account, as opposed to like the conservative option that we saw had a good portion of the assets.
You're spot on, Thomas. I think that would be that's a fair hypothesis to make. A great deal of the transactional activity are leveraging the feature of the debit card, right? Because it is so easy to use. We wanted to provide a tool that, let's say, an ABLE saver is at a pharmacy, at a restaurant, they could easily access those funds, and we see that happening, with the withdrawal at bank.
Moving on to the next one, distributions by age. the takeaway here, everybody's using it, right? Everybody that is in the ABLE program, they're using the assets, right? So contradict that to the 529, where you're going to see all of the distributions in that 18 plus cohort, as you'd expect. This program is for, in many cases, immediate use for everybody. The next one, new accounts by month. I think again, the primary story for me here is that accounts just continue to grow. The trend is going upward. Jose, I'd ask you, do we see much seasonality in ABLE with new accounts, or is this pretty much dependent upon if there's a some sort of marketing or awareness push, coupled with just the fact that probably the biggest struggle for a new program like ABLE is gaining awareness over time, and those numbers continue to grow. And then also with a program as specialized as this, not just awareness of the program, but I think I'd call it like trust in the program. Like, hey, is this really for real that I can use this? So I think while we may not see seasonality, we'll continue to see a lot of the account growth steady over time.
You're absolutely right, Thomas. It's more so what we'll see is an influx, generally speaking, when there's been some sort of event, or perhaps maybe a quick connect or a webinar with an organization such as, Easter Seals, or Department of Human Services, things of that nature. That's usually when we see a little bit of a peak, and then it levels out.
Great.
Yeah,
Moving. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, Jose and Thomas, I think that the gap between the online and the paper enrollment is going to continue to be more and more different in the online favor as the online enrollment process continues to improve as it has.
Yes, sir. You're spot on, Chris.
Absolutely.
You're spot on. And in fact, as we build out entity online enrollment, that's scheduled for the end of the year, Chris. It's a valid point, right? So even entities will be able to perform their own online process online, and not necessarily have to rely on paper. So absolutely. And again, the trend, even at this time, shows that Arkansas ABLE savers are very comfortable with performing tasks online, which is great, right? Which is fantastic. That's what we love to see. So 57% of your enrollments year to date are online. So great story.
Next one, this is just a breakdown of accounts by disability type. So I believe the way we capture this is really if Jose, is this a part of the submission, or is this something we collect as part of a post survey?
Thomas, it's part of the enrollment process. It's a required data element that they need to select. It's the disability type. And ultimately what happens is we then report that to the Social Security Administration on a monthly basis. Yeah, so it's more of a data collection than anything.
And the next one is similar, but is a breakdown of the custodian type and account eligibility. If we move to slide 11.
That's right, Thomas. So once again, these are data elements that are captured at the time of enrollment. That top table here, part of the requirements, the SSA requirements, the final reg requirements is that we capture the basis of eligibility. So there's 4 different types of basis of eligibility. And then the following table, the second table, the custodial type or custodian type, forgive me, description is just how did that enrollment come in? What's the account structure on that enrollment? So what we're looking at here is open accounts, 237 of them are self. 347 are opened by a parent and guardian of a minor ABLE saver. And then finally, the third custodian description, authorized individual and an adult. Again, that's an account owner who does not have legal capacity and they're unable to manage the account. So they've either designated, assigned, or the court has requested someone to manage the account on their behalf. So it's a pretty fair breakdown here. Again, what we love to see is the self-empowerment here. It's great to see that Arkansas Able Savers, those who can, are opening the accounts on their own and transacting and really being, providing a tool for them to be able to save and then also spend on things that are enhancing or improving their day-to-day.
Thanks, Jose. Account closures by month, closure numbers are low. My sense is because a lot of the closures come because of inactive accounts, not having necessarily all the information required to open the account, that in months where you see high spikes in new accounts, you most likely see spikes in closed accounts because of that, or at least in a trailing month, because of the fact that they're closed because they're inactive and we don't have the documents required. I think that's the trend that you'd see here. And finally, this is the how did you hear about the plan? This was the piece where we, in terms of collecting data, when we asked folks how they heard about the plan, that they choose whether or not to respond. And these are these are the ways that we collect the information, whether they hear from an advisor, family friend, organization. I think part of the takeaway here is there's probably a lot of overlap in how people are recording this versus how they actually may have heard about it. If it was an organization versus a presentation, how they decide to categorize it. But over time, this data will become more useful as we have larger sets of it.
It also looks like less and less people are responding every year. Preliminary, just kind of looking at the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have that huge 2019 spike that probably correlates to that event we saw earlier. But overall,
2019, 400.
yeah.
Year after we launched. Lots of PCFS. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our pleasure.
But Joe, this kind of information, is it valuable to you and what you guys do?
It is, because, we, even just last slide, trying to figure out, in the last few slides, the folks that this plan is able to serve or is serving, and do we need to change the way we're marketing and doing the things that we're doing. I'm primarily focused at this point on getting my counselors up to speed, make sure they can talk intelligently about the program, and then we're going to spread that to the schools that we work in, pre-employment transition services in the high schools. And I think that's an area where we can expand so we can get more traction with these type of programs.
As I was going through it, the thought occurred to me is if we had some area that seemed to be heavily used, which to me would mean it was not being served by DHS or Medicaid.
Right.
Would that tell us there may be a need to reevaluate that coverage as we go forward to, because if there's been a lot of money on a certain area, and a certain type of illness or disability, then maybe we ought to be thinking about what we're doing to provide that network that because these people are all in need. I mean,
right.
We've all been around and had either a family member or a close friend family member who's been a recipient of these sorts of services and probably using this too. This is all new to me, so I'm kind of, just waking up to some of the things that we're doing here.
Right.
And would it be something we may want to enhance or benefit, I guess would be the way I'd say it.
I definitely want to get in those areas where we have services we hear all the time that we don't do, they don't know how we serve, who we help. And I think dragging y'all along at the same time with us will help benefit that. Because again, it's those barriers. The folks that do hear about it or about our services say, well, I can't go to work because I'm going to make too much and I'll lose my benefits. So I think that in conjunction with this team here, we can start reaching those areas. We're doing what is called a comprehensive statewide needs assessment, a again next year. We have to do it on a regular basis. And what it does is identify unserved populations, folks that just don't know about what we do or for whatever reason can't get access to our services. So I think that if I can pass that information back to y'all and say, here's where we're gonna focus in this state, on the Delta or wherever we're going, and y'all can benefit from that.
Yeah, and I'm, of course, I don't want to be coming up with new benefits that aren't really necessary, but on the other hand, if there are benefits that we're not providing that are necessary, that are really burdensome on this segment of the population, then we're going to be thinking about that too.
Yes, sir. Good information though.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Matt, may I ask a comment?
Sure.
I know the audience here, but this is good. I was the director of the Government Development Disabilities and worked with COVID in 2019 was part of this. I testified for it. We used Ohio legislation.
So when you're working with me,
Yes, yes. The greatest success we had was we worked with the self-advocacy parents groups and specific organizations. There was a trust issue. They liked the idea. No offense, I was government, other government, but
Yeah.
we had relationships and collaboration with a lot of the groups, and it's a trust factor.
Rebuilt relationships.
Right. But it was a trust factor of if this is a good deal or not for my child. And the greatest fear parents have is their child outlives them. Sigma, but this was a good option, tax deferral, there's a lot of benefits to it. But the most success, of course, it was new, but you had a lot of energy with it. They were parents and parent groups and specific organizations. If it's the autism group or the different Down syndrome group or the cerebral palsy. That's how there's a infusion of information and had people sign up. That way, I'm sorry, I just wanted to.
Thank you for the comment.
But then again, you have another new round, though, every few years, so that was.
New life. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay. Tom, thank you for the report. You were through, weren't you?
Yes, all finished.
I didn't want to make sure. Sometimes I get ahead of myself.
I have about 35 more minutes of prepared comments if you are.
Full plug. Tom, we just lost you. Good afternoon. Fran,
That's it, yeah, new
there's
business.
new business. Do you have a?
The only new business I have is proposing our next meeting, tentatively looking at Thursday, November 30th, which is the Thursday following Thanksgiving Thursday. And if there are no obvious objections at this point, we'll follow up with you in a few weeks to just lock it in. If Christy, if there's anything you have on your calendar right now that would prevent that, we can look at some other dates,
Okay.
dates.
Let me look right quick. I don't think so, but let me double check.
Okay,
If they don't, go ahead and get that.
yeah. Yeah, we'll get both.
No, that is fine. That will be fine.
What time? We're gonna do it around this time?
Is 2 o'clock good, or is 1 o'clock better for you all?
We have a standing senior manager meeting from 1 to 2, but I can quickly shift and join Zoom at 2.
At 2, okay, okay. Is
2
that
is
okay?
fine.
Okay, great.
Good.
Well, we'll.
I can make it work.
We'll send an email to Bailey to tentatively hold 10 and 2 on the 30th, and then we'll confirm with everybody one more time. Okay?
Is there any other new business to bring before this committee? Hearing none, we stand adjourned.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody. See
Take
ya.
care.
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.